Aloha, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Trauma Recovery University. I'm your host, Athena Moberg, and with me in the green room is my amazing co-host, Bobby Parrish. And tonight's topic is gaslighting. What is gaslighting? What role does gaslighting play in the abuse cycle? What role does gaslighting play in our lives as survivors now in our present day relationships? And what role does gaslighting play in relationships? What role did it play in our previous relationships, whether it's with friends, family members, abusers, enablers? We're going to unpack all of that. We're going to have an open, honest discussion on the topic of gaslighting tonight. And if this is your very first time joining us, I want to give you a very special welcome and let you know this is a live interactive broadcast that we do every single week. Bobby and I are here recording this live from Maui, Hawaii and Dallas, Texas. And you can reach us and send us your questions every single week by using the hashtag #NoMoreShame. So tweet your questions out using the hashtag #NoMoreShame. We will receive them live on our Twitter stream. And we will do our best to answer them during the broadcast or even afterwards if possible. So if you are listening on a podcast platform such as iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, or even iHeartRadio, we would like to remind you that this is a video broadcast. And you can find us and all of our videos on our YouTube channel by searching for Trauma Recovery University TV. You can also find us on all Roku devices. If you have a Roku television or a Roku box, you can search for Trauma Recovery University. And pretty soon, you'll be able to find us audio and video on iTunes. So,
yay!
Yay, confetti! The crowd goes wild. I'm so excited. So we are going to dive right in tonight, and Bobby is just going to update us on some announcements regarding our anthology. Oh, and we got a nastygram. We got a nastygram from a couple of people, but we'll all touch base regarding our nastygram a little bit later on in the broadcast. But I would like to let you guys know that I did finally get all the information for RAINN, and that's RAINN.org, or 1-800-656-HOPE, and HOPE is 4673. 1-800-656-4673. If you are in the UK and you are triggered or you're in crisis or you need help of any kind, you can reach out to the Samaritans. You can email them at jo@samaritans.org, or you can call them at 116-123. Take it away, Bobby.
Hi, everybody. Do you still, if you didn't see them last week, do you see our awesome new graphics? Aren't they wonderful? Athena made them, and when you see the one page and the contact us and join us information, you'll see them too. So many thanks to Ms. Athena and her beautiful graphic design work for revamping us, and hopefully very soon we will I can't say re-unveil, that's not right. Unveil the newly branded Trauma Recovery University website. But we have piled Ms. Athena's plate very, very full. And so she has much to do. And she's having to, her plate is very full. So we're having to shift things around on her plate to make sure that she has time to get done what she needs to get done before she hits the road again next month. And we give her a stick and a little, a jar of peanut butter and a little red bandana and send her on her way. Okay, that's an interesting visual, isn't it?
We had someone last time. We had someone on YouTube say that they had this stick too. They had the little stick, and like when they wanted to run away from home, they had it too. So it might have been Punk Kimono. I think it was Punk Kimono.
Have you seen the movie or read the book by Cheryl Strayed, The Wild? About the woman who walks 1,000 miles down the Pacific Coast Trail
I
after her
think was
mom
that the
died.
one? Was that the one with Reese Witherspoon?
Yes.
Oh, that
Yes.
was
Oh,
very.
that's right. We talked about it. That was
Yeah.
triggering for you. But
I
there
think
is a
just because
point.
she wasn't safe, she was not safe, and so those dudes. As soon as I saw the guys, I was like, okay, I'm so out of here right now. This is crazy.
But there's a point where she's walking along 101 because the trail is washed out for some reason. And she looks like a backpacker. And this man stops her and says, "Are you a hobo?" "I interview hobos for a magazine. Can I interview you?" And she keeps going, "I'm not a hobo. I'm not a hobo." And he just insists that she's a hobo, and he takes her picture. And he tells her he's going to put her in the hobo newsletter, and he gives her this little sack full of goodies. And she says, "What's this?" He says, "It's a hobo care package." So while we get wildly off topic, that's what I was thinking of when I had that little picture of sending you into the world with your little stick and your red bandana.
Well, I love that you guys send me off with love. I want to, while you're finishing up our announcements and our updates regarding our anthology, I wanted to just really quickly say hi to Rose and Sarah and Jack and Grace and Jeanette. I'm so sorry. Jeanette, Melissa. I feel like I'm forgetting some people. Did I say Grace? Yes. All right. I just wanted to say hi to everybody and welcome you. So we do have, Bobby has some awesome just updates, I guess, regarding our annual anthology.
Yes, anthology next month, No More Shame November. This is the month when we do the most advocacy and awareness that we do all year long. Because we're putting a spotlight on child abuse survivors, what they go through, what their lives are like, what they need help with. And so that is when our anthology is scheduled to come out. And we also have last year's anthology that's scheduled to be republished by our amazing new publisher, Book Trope. Also, we're trying to, yay! We're trying to put together a page on the website, the No More Shame Project website, of blogs from people who blog about child abuse recovery, whether it's your personal story or whether it's information. So if you want to be included, we've gotten a few, but we haven't gotten very many. So if you want to be included, please send us in the URL and the title to your blog and your name, and we'll put it up on the page. And then if you have a particular post that you want us to share about your story, then please let us know and we'll highlight that as well. So also go to No More Shame Project, go to the button that says Pinnables. Tab, it says Pinnables, and you'll see a button, there we go, that's the right order, that says No More Shame November 2015. You can download that, snag it with a right click, save image as, and then you can use it for your avatar or a button on your blog for the month of November. And I think that's it.
I think so too. I just wanted to do a real quick public service announcement, Bobby. We had a couple of YouTube comments from someone. I believe they're from our some of our newer members, because I didn't recognize the avatar. And they were recommending that we stop talking in the beginning and quit doing all the boring announcements and just do a separate announcement video. And I just want to say, no, I'm sorry. That's not how we do it. This is our show. This is our channel. And YouTube is strictly voluntary, darling, as Richard Grannon would say. And if you don't like our announcements, fast forward till you see the one page and then stop fast forwarding, and then you can just read the one page and receive the comment. Otherwise, we're going to do announcements every single week like we've done for 18 months or a year or whatever it's been. So that's how we do it. And if more of you
That's how we roll.
That's how we roll. And if now I want to throw this out there though. Okay, beautifuls, we love you. So if that is the general consensus and you all are secretly wishing we would just stop doing announcements because you really don't care what's going on in our community, then by all means, send us a private message, like an email that we give you in every broadcast. Because the way I was trained in leadership and just in general communication is you praise in public and you criticize in private. So that being said, if you would like to let us know that you would prefer that we not talk in the beginning of our episodes, and you're part of our regular community that's been following us for over a year or longer, since January of 2014, we will graciously accept your feedback in a private email and let us know your opinions about that, and we will take them into consideration heavily as we move into 2016. Otherwise, as far as I know, our growing community of survivors on a global basis in 54 countries really enjoy knowing what's going on in our survivor community, and we enjoy telling you. So, end rant.
Okay, today we're talking about gaslighting, and I just want to start off by acknowledging that this is a more complex topic. We have been talking frequently in the last month and a half about manipulation, brainwashing, mind manipulation in particular, and gaslighting is a particular strategy that is used by predators. So not just in child abuse, but this is used in domestic violence. It's used in relationships with narcissists, sociopaths, not as much psychopaths because they really just don't care what you think. They're just going to tell you what to do. But it's used by, it could be used by your boss. It could be used by a coworker. Gaslighting is something that happens every day in the world and not just in the field of abuse. But we want to highlight it because it's entirely possible that it was something that was used during your abuse as a child, or perhaps as you have grown up and gotten into romantic relationships with people, you have unfortunately been re-victimized and come into contact with a predator and they've used it. And it's so important to be aware of where in your life you have been, as they call, gaslit, because it's in those moments that your truth, your perception, your reality was denied and distorted. So let's kind of back up and talk about what gaslighting is. The term comes from a movie, and more often than not, the 1944 version of the movie, I think the first one was in 1944 version of a movie called Gaslight. And it was a relationship between a man and a woman. I believe they were husband and wife.
They were husband and wife.
Okay. And he was doing things up in the attic, and it caused the gaslights in the living room to flicker. And she would say, "Do you see that? Do you see that?" And he'd come down and say, "I don't know what you're talking about. You're a crazy woman." Not in those languages, of course, because he didn't speak like that in 1944. But
But that was the general consensus.
That was the consensus, and his goal was to convince her that she was losing her mind, that what she saw as happening was not really happening. And that is the whole underlying goal of gaslighting. The goal of gaslighting is for the predator to get you to doubt your perceptions of reality, what you see, what you hear, what you think. This is where your intuition is going to get undermined. This is where you're truly going to begin to doubt that you're sane. And the reason the abuser wants to do that is because they want you to rely on their perception of reality. They want you to depend on what you say is real. No, exactly what they say and what they want. No, I'm not abusing you. This is something all mothers do with their sons. This is something all brothers do with their sisters. And if it's a severe case, you're gaslit over and over and over and over and over again over the course of your childhood.
And and all the way into adulthood, and not only by the abuser, but by the enablers and the people surrounding the enablers and the abusers as well.
Exactly. And eventually you get to the point where you don't have any self-esteem. You don't have any ability to trust your own judgment, to trust your own perceptions, to trust your own interpretation of reality. Your truly at that point brainwashed.
Yeah.
And it happens more often than we realize. And that's why we're talking about this, because it's so important for survivors to realize this tactic for the purpose of undoing that damage and
Yeah.
learning to trust themselves again and learning to trust their reality rather than what someone else is trying to feed them.
You know what, Bobby?
Hmm.
I love the example that you just gave. And is it okay if I share another real life example just for the purposes of, I know we have several members of our community that are that have they have not only endured the childhood sexual abuse, but they are in relationship with their adult family members and
Right,
their adult parents. Their adult relationship with their family members and their parents are all based on years and years and years and years and years and years and years of gaslighting. So none of it
right.
was really true, but it wears down your defenses and it wears down your light bulb moments that you're able to have.
Yes,
It wears down your resistance to
yes.
lies. And just an example that I have is when I started having a whole bunch of memories, you guys. I mean, obviously, I've been in recovery for 15 years now, but over the past 10 years, 9 years mostly, it's been more very progressive. I've been sort of chasing after my health, and, wanting to be healthy in every single way. Probably starting way back in like June 2006. So I was working through my stuff, going through recovery, just from, I mean, just everything, just from being trafficked, from being abused, from just all of the things that I had been through. And then I had something traumatic happen. And as Bobby and I have talked about in several different episodes and several different just written material, audio material, video material, trauma is cumulative, you guys. You don't just get traumatized and then slice out that nice little pretty piece of trauma and deal with only that piece of trauma. It triggers all this other past trauma in a big old swirly mess. And so what happened for me personally was my son got deployed in the military during a time of war. And I was a single mom for 17 years, for the better part of 17 years, and he's my only child. And all I kept thinking is, my son's never coming home. My son's never coming home. My son's never coming home. He's deploying at a time of war. He's never coming home. It was very traumatizing for me. Well, during that time, and that was all I was thinking, it triggered all these old memories and it triggered all this old trauma. And I started having audible hallucinations. I would start hearing voices from my childhood, voices from other traumatic events in my life, like when I was, shipped around to this family member and that family member and this school and that school. I went to several different elementary schools before I finally landed at one at my second stepfather's house, where a lot of my abuse happened. If you've read my Corner House article, that's where it all happened. But anyhow, I started having memories of that. And I started hearing voices. And then my husband took me out to breakfast, and I actually had a visual hallucination of this mother abusing her child. But in all actuality, she was feeding her child grapes, and it was on the beach. And so anyway, all this stuff happened. And I, thinking I had a healthy relationship with one of my abusers that I didn't even realize was one of my main abusers. I honestly thought that my abuse was only sexual. I didn't really notice the gaslighting and the manipulation and the narcissism and all of the like just all of it just racked up like dominoes. I called this family member and I was like, what does this mean? Whose voice is this that I'm hearing? This is exactly how it sounded. Let me replay it for you. This is exactly what I heard. And I was like replaying the voice that I was hearing for her. Like, whose voice is that? And she was telling me that it was this person or this person or this person, or could it be your uncle? Could it be this? Could it be that? That's who it was, I bet. But turns out my defenses were so down and my guard was so non-existent. I actually was having hallucinations of my trauma. And I called my main abuser going, these are these hallucinations I'm having. Would you have any idea why I would be having these hallucinations? Whose voice am I hearing? I mean, I was so completely clueless and gaslit that I called my main abuser to ask them to help me. And that's what they want you to do. They want you to depend on them for their version of reality, because then she was able to oh, the web that they weave. Oh, well, don't you remember this? And don't you remember that? And don't you remember? And then then she decided she was going to tell me about all the other horrible things that ever happened with everybody else, but it was never, ever, ever anything pointed at her, ever. And then that was when the whole, oh, I wish I would have known so I could have done something about it. I would have removed you sooner. I wish I would have known if I would have known. It's like, and it's all just a bunch of hogwash. You did know. You were the one who created it all. You were the one who, you were the master painter of that masterpiece that was my entire gaslit, abusive, torture-filled, ridiculously neglectful, hunger-filled, abusive, awful life. You were the one that caused it all and orchestrated it all. You were the conductor of that beautiful symphony of shit. And now you're saying, oh, I wish I would have known. Gosh, if I would have known, I would have gotten this out sooner. Like, oh, really? And I fell for it. Of course I fell for it. Anyhow, that was over a year ago. 367 days, folks. It's been 367 days. Okay, Bobby, that was a real life example of gaslighting.
There you go. And we have another one on our one page. So let's pull that up and take a look at that and get into our content. I'm looking at our clock. Okay.
I was thinking of specifically one of our members of our community that also has a narcissistic mother and they've been severely gaslit, and it all just sort of every time they post, I just think of it more.
Yes. Okay. Our gaslighting one page. Gaslighting is a manipulative behavior that predators and abusers use to gain control over their victims. That's what it's all about. Right there, in a nutshell. No matter how complex gaslighting is to pick apart and to identify, that is their goal. They want control over you, and they're going to maintain control any way they can. And if they can't do it physically, and someone in chat brought this up this morning, that, for some people, it's hard to hide physical control. And so they have to resort to mental and emotional ways to control us. And gaslighting seems to be one of the favorite ways for abusers and predators to gain control over us. Again, the goal of the behavior is to undermine the target, meaning the victim's perception of reality, so that they become dependent upon the abuser's interpretation of reality. Abusers want their victims to doubt themselves, their experience, and even whether they know right from wrong, truth from lie. And this morning, a lot of people were talking about how they still, in their adulthood, doubt themselves. And I agree, self-doubt is a huge part of an adult survivor's experience, because you have been trained not to trust yourself. And so one of the most important things that you have to do as an adult survivor is learn how to trust yourself again, learn how to trust your perceptions, learn how to, stand in your belief and not be so riddled with self-doubt that you have a hard time functioning and you have a hard time standing your ground. So let's sort of look at another example of gaslighting behavior. Okay, so here's a family, and I'm thinking extended family, not just the mom, dad, and the kids. I'm thinking aunts, uncles, everything. They're sitting around the dining room table and they're having Christmas dinner. There's a child at the table that has a cast on an arm, and a relative asks him, hey, what happened? Well, before the boy can say it, his father says, he's so clumsy. He couldn't walk across a room without falling down or knocking something over. He fell down the stairs. But the boy protests, and he says, well, no, I didn't, Dad. You were right behind me. You pushed me. And at that moment, everything goes quiet, and the whole family does a collective gasp because they're shocked. Yeah. that anyone would make that kind of an accusation against the father, who has a pretty strong personality in the family, but is also relatively well liked. Okay? And the father's instant response is, I most certainly did not. How dare you accuse me of that? I was right behind you, but I know how clumsy you are. I reached out to keep you from falling. How dare you blame me? Apologize this instant. And the child is horrified and humiliated because they're being publicly in front of their family shamed and admonished. Everyone on the family is clearly on the father's side and not on the child's side. So he issues an apology and doesn't talk for the rest of the meal. Okay, so that is a clear example of gaslighting. The father is telling everyone, well, not only was this not my fault, but this child, this lousy excuse for a child, is incredibly flawed. And you wouldn't begin to even want to believe a thing that comes out of this child's mouth. Instead, believe me, because I have a nice, sweet story to tell. He was going to fall, so I just reached out. I knew he was going to fall because it's just his way. And so I just reached out. I was trying to help him. And that is a much more palatable story for a family to believe, to want to believe, to live in that little land of denial, than for them to sit there and try to stomach the fact that the father would push his or her own child down the stairs. So that's gaslighting, because it undermines the victim's belief in their ability to see and know the truth. And again, over time, persistent and repetitive gaslighting will erode a victim's self-esteem, the trust they have in their own thinking, leaving them dependent on their abuser to think for them. Okay, because their abuser has them trained to think they aren't capable of thinking for themselves. Because every time they try to think for themselves, obviously they're wrong. The abuser is very willing to point out the ways that they're wrong. And these next couple of statements are exactly what Athena was talking about earlier. Gaslighting is used not only by the abuser, but by their enablers and family members to uphold their denial of the truth of the family dysfunction. Okay? Again, they would much rather believe that the kind and benevolent father reached out to help his son because he knows his son so well, right? He's such an excellent father. Then they would like to believe the truth, which is that the father pushed the child. And so they're going to pile on the father's side of the table and enable him to gaslight even more. So,
because that's what the family does. It's what they're used to.
Yep, that is what they're used to.
It's the patriarch of the family, and it's what the patriarch says to do, and that's what everybody does. That's what they do.
Right, because see, nobody wants to be on the other side of the patriarch.
Oh no, no one wants to be on the bad side.
No, because even if you aren't the main victim, if you challenge the patriarch, guess what? You're going to get called on the carpet big time, and you're going to risk being ostracized from the family. Now, those of us now having stand back from our families, and those of us who have made a breakaway from our family, we can go, well, it's no big loss. You all are kind of weird and dysfunctional and horrible to each other anyway. But in that moment, when what you really want is to be a part of your family, especially when you're a child, to be rejected and kicked out of the family is incredibly painful. Incredibly painful. So people are not going to stand up to that patriarch, and they're not going to stand up, especially in those moments. But maybe when they're an adult, or later, maybe after the patriarch dies and they feel like maybe it's okay to voice a few things, then they might. But at that point, it feels so unsafe. Okay, so some tips and strategies to combat gaslighting. And the first is just become aware what gaslighting is, so you can identify its presence in your past and your present day relationships. If you still have relationships with your dysfunctional family members, if you have been re-victimized and you are now in a relationship with a narcissist or a sociopath, or someone who wants to control you, you may be being you might be you might be being gaslit at this moment, at this present day. So become aware of what gaslighting is and where you see it. If you have safe relationships, this is important because this morning so many people talked about, I don't even really know what was the truth in my childhood and what was the lie, or worse, my entire childhood was a lie. And now yes, right. And now as an adult, we have to figure out what the truth really was. And one of the ways you can do that is if you have safe relationships with family members who witness the gaslighting behavior, go to talk to them and say, hey, what was your perception of what was happening? What did you see happen? And see if you can get them to shed some light on the truth. I know when I was a child, there were always two sets of rules, one for the adults and then one for the children. And the rules didn't apply to the adults, but they applied to the children. And of course, you don't see that in that moment. And it's not until you get older that you realize how you were duped into thinking that you had to adhere to this standard of perfection when the adults around you were ferociously imperfect. And sometimes when you make that connection, be aware that you might have some pretty strong physical reactions, some pretty strong emotional reactions. Okay? You might get really angry. You might get really sad. You might experience a tremendous amount of injustice that you were treated the way that you were. And all of those are okay. All of those are absolutely fine to feel. The problem is sometimes when you do things with those feelings that aren't healthy for yourself or aren't healthy for other people. And then begin the process of learning to trust yourself again. Your perceptions and your interpretations of reality again. Start small, practice. Like many of the things that we talk about in terms of learning new behaviors, it's like a muscle. You have to build that muscle up. So practice and get validation and support from your safe community. We have people who come into our support groups all the time and say, you guys, post a post that says something like, this just happened to me. Does anybody else think that's really dysfunctional, or is it just me? And people will weigh in and they'll give their opinions, and they're not emotionally invested in the dysfunctional behavior of the family or the person that you're talking about. So it's very safe for people to say, that's just wrong. And they'll help you. Sometimes we can only see the gaslighting behavior with great clarity when we no longer have a part of the dysfunctional relationship, when we are no longer a part of it. You may need to alter your involvement in toxic relationships to be completely free of gaslighting's influence. And that is a very hard one for some survivors. They still want to have relationships with their family, despite how toxic they are. And that's okay. That's your choice. That's absolutely your choice. But you have to realize that that may come at the sacrificing of some clarity. It may. It's not a for sure, it's not a given. But sometimes we only gain the clarity we need. It's like looking at it under a microscope because you're standing right next to everything, and then bringing the lens back really far because you've gotten away and now you have greater clarity because you can see the big picture.
Yeah.
Reprogram your self-talk. Reprogram your self-talk. Wow, we have to do so much of that, and not just about gaslighting, but about a million different things. I know over and over again in our groups, in our Twitter chats, and working one-on-one with our clients, both Athena and I talk about the tapes that play through our heads. The tapes that were recorded by our abusers because they said them over and over and over again when we were kids. You're so clumsy, you're so fat, you're so stupid, you're never going to be good for anything. I don't know why I had you. You are just a waste of my time.
I knew I should have had an abortion.
Yes.
That's another one of them.
Yes. And it's not our fault. It's not our fault that we get those tapes stuck in our head. It's just the process that we have been under, the brainwashing, and they were coming from someone that we trusted. But as an adult, we have to reprogram that, because sometimes the self-talk that we're using actually supports the gaslighting. Okay, so if we're telling ourselves, you're walking down the sidewalk and you trip and you're like, oh, I'm such a clumsy idiot. You're actually reinforcing what that gaslighting behavior was, if that was something your abuser told you when you were a child. So, say something different. Either, whoops, that was just a mistake, or, oh, wow. Something that doesn't have a negative connotation to it. It's just a recognition of the behavior. And if you're just walking along and doing fine, say to yourself, I'm not clumsy. I'm graceful and steady on my feet. So use your affirmations and reprogram that self-talk.
Yeah.
And then you have to rewrite your story. You have to rewrite the story of your childhood now that you know the truth. Okay? So it was not that you were a clumsy, stupid child that could never get anything wrong and deserved to be beaten and abused and mocked. That's not the truth. The truth is that you had a parent, a neighbor, a sibling who was abusive. And they did everything they could to undermine your self-esteem so that you would become dependent upon them so they could control you. That's the truth. And that hurts. That's painful. But it's the truth that you need to know, and it's the truth that you need to embrace so you don't carry around those messages anymore. I think that's one of the things that, Athena and I see so often undermine survivors' recovery is their perceptions of themselves.
Yeah.
And we have to learn how to rewrite that story based on the truth rather than, the brainwashing and the messages that our abusers and our family wanted to plant in our heads.
Yeah.
To serve their purposes.
And that's really hard. I think the question that I get asked a lot, I think, Bobby, I think you do get asked this question actually, but the question I get asked a lot, at least lately, especially on the topic of gaslighting and narcissistic and personality disordered parents, was the question I get the most is, did they ever love me? I mean, did they really never, ever love me? Ever?
Yeah.
And I mean, the answer to that question, you guys, is they loved you with what they thought was love, but it's not what real love is. Real love is patient and kind and you know, there's reciprocity there. It's a give and take. It's a loving, kind, patient relationship. It's healthy. You're not afraid all the time. You're not playing detective all the time. You're not being shamed and put down all the time. You're not questioning reality all the time. That's real love. But the love that we experienced from our personality disordered parents was their version of love, mixed with perhaps sadistic qualities. I mean, sadism is very, very common with sociopaths and psychopaths and narcissists. So it's a painful question to ask and answer, that no, they may never have really loved you.
Not in the sense of healthy love. Absolutely not.
No.
And, another question that I know you get asked just like I do is there any hope? Am I ever going to be able to live free from all these messages running through my head? Am I ever going to be able to feel good about myself? And absolutely.
Yes. The answer is yes. Yes.
We're not saying that there's a magic, being that Jack can drop in the ground and all of a sudden your self-esteem will spring up like magic. But yeah, absolutely there is, and absolutely you will.
It gets better, you guys. It gets better as you chase after your recovery and your health with a passion and a purpose, and you stay focused on it and you don't give up. One day, all of a sudden, it's like, boom, light bulb, boom, light bulb, boom, light bulb. And then another day, boom, 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 light bulb's off, light bulb's going off the whole way. And then you might hit a low point, but you've built up so much strength from those light bulbs going off, and the wins, you're piling up your wins, that when you get, boom, you get knocked in the solar plexus, you get the wind knocked out of you, you pop back up a little bit faster because you're more resilient and you're stronger. So
yes,
I mean, it's so important.
The more that you the more you reprogram, especially those feelings of your self-worth, the easier and easier it'll get.
Yeah. Hey,
but absolutely, I never have a problem telling a survivor that, yeah, there's hope, and it can change, and it will change. And that's why we're here. That's why we started doing what we do. That's why we started doing these podcasts, because both Athena and I had such lengthy recoveries, and we still, have work to do, that we knew that if there was going to be a way that people coming behind us were going to have a faster, smoother way of it, we had to start getting more information out there and getting people to know that they aren't alone. And there are other options than sitting in the muck and hoping that someone comes along to rescue us.
Yeah.
We can rescue ourselves.
We really can, you guys. We really, as long as we equip ourselves. Yay is right. Yay. Hey, Bobby, I have a screen share that I wanted to share with everybody before we do our other screen shares. I forgot to mention this when we were having our pre-meeting and discussing everything. But our dear, dear, dear friend Melissa Wilson, who is a huge fan of our broadcast and just has been with us the whole time, and I got to be a guest on her podcast. So did Bobby. Melissa's a huge supporter of all of the work we do. We are a huge support. We're huge supporters of the work she does. She works with adult survivors of childhood bullying, and as you know, a lot of times abuse at home or childhood sexual abuse and abuse of other flavors often coincides with this type of abuse. For me personally, the bullying was, it was horrific. It was horrific. It still gives me nightmares. I still have nightmares while I'm awake, like just memories that, like PTSD. The bullying was so horrific that it triggers so many other things. So I'm a huge fan of Melissa's work, and I have a little screen share for her Bullying Survivors Summit. So can't wait to share that with you guys right now. And I just need to find that. Let's see.
People are sharing their examples of the kinds of things they were told as children.
Oh boy.
Awful stuff, you guys. Awful stuff. But at the moment, we probably were so pushed into the ground and so belittled and humiliated that we believed it.
We really did.
It's terrible.
And we still believe it into adulthood. So yeah. I'm going to do a screen share for you guys now. And this is for our dear friend Melissa Wilson of the Grass Gets Greener podcast. And Bobby, let me know if you can see that.
I see me. Oh, there it is.
Can you see it?
I see it.
All right. So the Bullying Survivors Virtual Summit is for survivors of childhood bullying who are trying to rebuild their life after bullying. This awesome Survivors Virtual Summit will air from Wednesday, October 21st through Monday, October 26th. 2 interviews will be released each day featuring experts who will be discussing various topics related to bullying, such as what bullying is, the long-term effects that bullying can leave, and how to deal with those after effects. Now, this summit will be beneficial to anyone who has been bullied, or anyone who has a loved one who has been bullied, or even someone who simply wants to better understand the issue of bullying in our society today. So please, if you are listening to this or viewing this anytime before Wednesday, October 21st, 2015, please go to www.bullyingsurvivorssummit.com and sign up. It's free. And I just can't recommend it more highly. Melissa is just super solid. She's incredible. She is such a supporter of so many people, and I can't speak more highly of Melissa. And I know that she's the one that's hosting this, and she's just 5-star, top notch. Everything she does is just so professional. So definitely go check that out. That's bullyingsurvivorssummit.com. And tell Melissa that you heard about it from Athena and Bobby. Tell her we said hi.
You know, I think so many of us would benefit from this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's pretty hard to deny that child abuse is a form of bullying. So, you know,
Right.
I can't imagine how every single one of us wouldn't, you know, benefit in some way from the information that's going to be presented. I know that every single podcast that I listen to of Melissa's, I get something out of it.
Oh,
So
Me too.
she's talking about trauma. And the form of trauma she focuses on is bullying. But trauma is trauma is trauma is trauma is trauma is trauma. So, you know, even if you don't identify as a survivor of bullying, we would really encourage you to go sign up, because you're probably a survivor of bullying. You just didn't label it that way. But we'll label it for you.
Yeah. And you know what? There's going to be some awesome experts there. Alyssa has been planning this for several months. And again, everything she does is just so professional. And she is so meticulous and articulate with every single thing she does. From the way that she records everything to the way everything is edited. I mean, I'm certain that this is just going to be, it's going to be amazing. So please check that out. That is Bullying Survivors with an S Summit.com, and it's free to sign up. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Let's share our info. Info. Screen share. Let's see. Okay. Let's do present all. Present to everyone. Yay. Okay. We have 3 Twitter chats a week. There's no charge for them. We would love to have you join us if you are on Twitter. Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time and 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Now, I believe Sweet Sarah looked it up for me, and October 25th, that week of October 25th is when the times will go wonky between our switching off of daylight savings time, and it'll be 1 week different from the UK. So stand by as we hopefully sort that out. But the hashtag is CSAQT, Child Sexual Abuse Question Time. And just join us on Twitter. use the hashtag, and we would love to have you be a part of that. And then there is this Twitter chat that is also a live video broadcast. The hashtag is No More Shame, and we are at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, and 2 o'clock in the morning for our UK peeps. And I think as I looked at the Twitter feed tonight, we have at least 3 people from the UK on with us tonight. And then tomorrow night is the original Twitter chat for sex abuse survivors, sex abuse chat, and that is at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. That was started by myself and Rachel Thompson, who is a best-selling author who's a tireless advocate of childhood sexual abuse survivors, because she is one. And that is at Wednesday at 2 o'clock in the morning, Greenwich Mean Time. If you want to watch the broadcast and tweet in a little box beneath it all on one screen, you can do that at bit.ly/trauma recovery U, and the capitals do matter. And that is, again, here with us right now, Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific, Tuesdays at 2 o'clock in the morning. If you would like to join one of our safe and private support groups on Facebook, you may do that. Just follow these steps. And I actually had someone do this week to the T, and it was so wonderful, so easy.
I love it. I had the same thing. I love it. It's 4 easy steps, you guys. Boom, 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 boom. I love it.
So, like the Trauma Recovery University Facebook page, send one of us or both of us a friend request, and then send one or both of us a message that says, I'd like to heal in safe community, and we will welcome you into one of our safe secret Facebook support groups. If we don't know you, so for example, we haven't encountered you on the Facebook page or in a Twitter chat, we may ask you some questions, and we would ask that you please be tolerant with us as we do that, because it's very important to us to maintain the safety of our support groups. And we want to make sure that you are not a spammer or a scammer. So far, we have had 100% of not letting people into the groups who would do anyone their harm, and we would like to keep that percentage up.
Yes, we would.
Yay!
Yay.
Okay. So now let's talk about how to reach out.
Yes, you guys,
and
I want to acknowledge, there's a couple of you saying that the new logo is really hard to read. And before you screen share, Bobby, I just want to share something. So previously we had the 3 books, boom, boom, boom. Now that is what the seal is. Now the 3 books didn't say anything. It was just 3 books, boom, boom, boom. And the seal is just a book, and it just, around the seal, it says Trauma Recovery University, and there's a little leaf that grows out. Now, previously, the actual name, the actual title, Trauma Recovery University, was using a particular font, and it was in a particular color. Now, exactly the same exact font, only we're using our new beautiful colors that you all voted on, and that Bobby loves, and I love, and everybody so far loves. So, and I realize that it's hard to read the letters that go around, and that's totally fine. I'll see what I can do. But we also have our Trauma Recovery Ministries, which is our nonprofit division that we're getting ready to start and launch. And this logo and that logo are sort of dovetailed, and they all work together nicely along with all the colors and everything. So I'll see what I can do, but you know what? No worries. And I appreciate everybody's feedback. That's all.
They all play together nicely on the playground. All of our new material.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they all match up, and it's beautiful and awesome. So
okay, this is how you can contact us. Keep in mind, please, that we do our best to reply to you within 48 hours. Sometimes it doesn't happen. It is just Athena and I out here doing all the wonderful stuff. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger and y'all can see it.
I was talking with someone today, Bobby, about everything that it is that we're doing, and oops, our faces are cut off. That's just a little bit too big. So we have 1 hour of the week, you guys, where we are actually on camera and we are recording live. And that is what you are seeing or listening to right now. 1 hour, 60 minutes of our week is actually in front of the camera. About a cumulative of over 100 hours, leaning more closer to the 200-hour mark, is how much work is actually put in behind the scenes. We have an assistant, we have Bobby, we have me, we have email, we have social media, we have videos, we have information products that we're putting together, we have research that we're doing, we have a Roku television channel, we have updates on our website. Our support group, which is a full-time, literally 2 people full-time job if it was actually a paid situation. So hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of beautiful, amazing, heartfelt work goes into everything we offer you every single week, with 1 of those hours being in front of the camera. So please keep that in mind as you choose to be patient with us when we don't respond right away. So, but we love you. It's no reflection on how much love we have for you. It is just not physically humanly possible for us to be as quick in responding to everyone and be in so many different places all at the same time, all at once.
And we have not yet mastered our cloning capabilities.
No, we have not.
No Nobel Prize for us.
Not yet.
You can reach me individually at bobbylparish@gmail.com. Athena is at athenamobergspeaking@gmail.com. And then you may reach us at our joint email account, nomorashameproject@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am Bobby L. Parrish. Athena is Athena Moberg. And Trauma Recovery University is Trauma Recovery U. On Facebook, you can find our business page at Trauma Recovery University. My business page is Bobby Parrish Coaching and Consulting. My personal page is Bobby Parrish. Athena's business page is Athena Moberg Speaking, and her personal page is Dawn Athena Moberg. On YouTube, you can find us, just do a search for Trauma Recovery University. On Roku TV and Google, it's the same thing. And 24/7, 365, we are at bit.ly Trauma Recovery U. So there you go. Yay, confetti.
We want to thank you guys. We are so honored and grateful that we get to spend this hour of your week with you. We get to spend more than an hour of your week with you if you're a part of one of our online safe secret communities. So,
or come to our Twitter chats.
Yeah, or come to our Twitter chats. So we absolutely love everything we do with you survivors. It is so wonderful. I got into a conversation with someone just the other day. They had seen one of the videos, Bobby, talking about how the person was standing in my kitchen and they're like, huh, Athena, gosh, why abuse survivors? Huh? Why abuse survivors, Athena? Gosh, you just have so many talents. And you're just so, you're so skilled and talented, and it seems like you're kind of selling yourself short. Like, why would you just narrow it down and only work with abuse survivors? And it was really awesome because this thought came to my mind immediately, Bobby. I know we've talked about this previously, but never this clear and this quickly did this come to my mind. What if someone, and I'm not, please don't, you guys know me. If you've been watching me for any amount of time, you know that I am not a boastful person. Like, if I'm going to boast, I'm going to boast in what God's done in my life. It's totally not me. It's totally God. But I want to ask you guys a question. I'm not saying Bobby and I are like the next, Oprah, Mother Teresa, whatever. Like, I'm totally not saying that. But what if someone said to Mother Teresa, gosh, Mother Teresa, why Calcutta? Gosh, Father Damien, why lepers? Gosh, Jesus Christ, why every sinner in the whole wide world? Why would you want to die for them? Gosh, why? Why would you want to do anything for anybody? Why narrow yourself down and just sell yourself short by only working with lepers? I mean, they're lepers, for God's sakes. It's like, I mean, come on, guys. Like, for real. Like, let's just get
a snapshot of the stigma that we as survivors face in society. a slap in the face of how real that is.
Oh, it's real. Yeah, it's totally real. But I am here to say, like I say every single week, I am honored and blessed to do the work I do with each and every one of you beautifuls. And I consider you my family. And I am just excited every single day of the week. I wake up every day with a smile on my face and joy in my heart, knowing that I am making a difference in the lives of so many people, even just one person. Even, I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous. Oh, just one person, Athena? Really? Like you'd really be excited? But I make a lasting,
Yeah.
impactful difference in someone's life, and they choose to not commit suicide because they found us on Roku. Like, that's kind of a really big deal, you know? Like, I'm really grateful that they chose not to kill themselves because they found us. And I'm really grateful that they're going to go on and they're going to do amazing things and help other people. And they might, give birth to children who give birth to children who give birth to children. And, that's the person who cures cancer. I mean, who knows, you guys? We don't know. We will never, ever, ever know the impact that we have had on this world. But all I can tell you is that I'm going to be intentional about the time I spend with each and every one of you. And I'm going to continue doing it. And I'm going to do it with all that I have. And I'm not giving up. So it doesn't matter how many people stand in my kitchen and say all that crap to me. So, hey, Bobby, I'm going to turn this around and land this plane by asking you if you have any parting thoughts for everyone today.
Keep at it, you guys. Every week we're going to be here to give you information. And if it feels overwhelming, take care of yourself. But know that we're going to keep showing up every week. We'll be at our Twitter chats. We'll be in our Facebook groups. We'll be here. And our goal is to help you reach that place of feeling happy and healthy and worthwhile.
And whole. We really want you to experience wholeness. And
yes,
that might be just this fantasy thing that you don't even know how to grasp because there's never been any such thing as wholeness in your life. But you know what? I'm here to tell you it's possible. If Bobby and I, who I know Bobby very, 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 very well, she probably knows me almost as well as my husband knows me. I mean, we have just shared every single level of ourselves and just our story with one another. And it is a privilege to be known, to know her and to be known by her. And we are privileged to come here every single week and share ourselves with you. So if you would like to reach us, like we always say, send your tweets to #NoMoreShame. Reach out to us on email, Facebook, Twitter, social media. We love contacting you and then hearing from you guys. Thank you for all of your wonderful messages. And until next week, I'm Athena Moberg, and this is Bobby Parrish, and we love to bring you everything you need for healthy, informed trauma recovery. Bye, everybody.